Hello, and welcome to the Culinary Libertarian podcast. My name is Dan Reed, and this is the first episode. So I'm a little anxious, a little nervous, but the focus of the podcast is going to be talking about the things I write about on the blog, which is food. Mostly baking, because I find writing about baking, particularly writing recipes for baking, is easier to describe what's happening than it is with cooking, because so many other things can be variables. How thick is the steak, or what, the soup you're making, the flavor of the broth. Those are things that I can't know. What I can know is how much is a pound of flour, how much butter is butter, how much ingredients are for baking are easier to talk about or write about than about cooking. But that's not going to stop me from trying anyway. In addition to the food part of the baking and cooking, we're going to be talking about food policy. So the second word of the show is called libertarian. And while I am interested in the politics of libertarianism, what is also of interest to me is the food policy part and how those things can be, or how they do affect our lives. So there are things that, by way of either government policy or government action or inaction, these are things that are interesting to me because they affect our lives in ways that we may not understand. And knowing what's happening is one of the ways we can try to fix that, either, well, so now we get into the rabbit hole of politics, and I think I want to probably stay away from that too much because there's just so much in that rabbit hole that we're not going to find agreement, and that's not important. So, food policy to start with. Also interested in concepts like homesteading. Homesteading does mean to the faithful a particular thing, and that is, I think, mostly to be self-sufficient and at least, if not completely off of the food grid, substantially off the food grid. So if something happens, I don't know what, that you can't get to the store, you lose a job, or some other tragedy befalls a family, having a garden and ability to harvest food and ostensibly water. These are ways that people can maintain life without need of the store. But how else can one homestead? Well, gardens are, I suppose, in some extension of the idea, homesteading. One of the things that was interesting for me to read about in a book about food policy was a judge, I believe it was Wisconsin, who in the course of a particular trial, it was his opinion that you, Joe Gardner, don't have a right to the food you grow at your house. Well, that seems rather bizarre. So this would be a case where food policy is something that we would want to know about. Getting back to the whole baking thing, it's middle of September. There's a cool crispness to the mornings when I walk outside in my part of Southern Oregon, and that smells like fall to me. Fall is, well, this baker's favorite time of year, but I think probably for most cooks and most bakers, fall is one of the best times of the year for food, partly because of the harvest is coming in. For me, it is the memories that I have with family from Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the food traditions and pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin. Oh my goodness, do I like pumpkin stuff? So pumpkin cookies, pumpkin muffins, well, pumpkin beer. Hard to find this year. I don't know why. So baking, cooking, food policy, these are the things I want to talk about. I hope to speak with various people who do cookbooks, or baking books, or are involved in the food industry in some way. Not everything has to be politics. Some things just have to be good food. And I want to share those with you. One of the things I think is an important skill to develop, and one of the things that I see cooks struggle with, are just the simple things. How to make a cookie, how to make a muffin, how to make a biscuit. A little bit about me, since we've gotten this far. I have many years, 30 or so years in the food service industry, meaning lots of restaurant experience as a cook, as a baker, as a chef. I've been assistant manager for in a store of a major grocery store chain, the assistant manager of a bakery. So bakery production, food production, doing these things is something that I have experience with. I've also taught culinary school for a couple of years, and everybody seems to, well, everybody colloquially seems to just get nervous and freeze when asked to do the simplest of things like make a muffin from scratch. They'd sooner skin an elk than bake something as simple as that. And my hope, my intent, my desire is to help young bakers, not in age but in experience, get over the baking phobia. It isn't hard. Baking can be done, and you can do it. I've taught many people to bake things that are easy to bake. Muffins are easy to bake. Bread is easy to bake. Some of the things that bothers people about bread is it's sticky on your fingers, and well, yes, bread is sticky. There's nothing we can do about that, but we'll find ways to at least accept that that's the fact of the case, and the price of bread on your fingers, bread dough on your fingers, is a price worth paying to get spectacular, yummy bread at the end of the process. So that's my introduction. Thank you for listening. Welcome to the Culinary Libertarian podcast, and we'll have the next episode up soon. Bye.